Now, since Kawhi is playing, we must bring on the saltier Adam Oslin, host of the Clipper Countdown, halftime and post-game show on the radio station, has his own YouTube channel about the Clippers, included me in a very wittily done parody recently. I did like it. I thought it was a cheap shot, Adam, but I did like it.
Well, where was the retweet
like the commercial?
then, Fred? Fred, if you liked it,
great.
Retweet it. Show it some love. Maybe we should play it for you because not everybody has heard this. Now, for those who don't know, there have been a series of commercials coming out with New Balance and Kawhi with his return pending. He came back last Saturday night, finally against Atlanta. And one of them, it just made me think of Fred because he's going to fish and he's got the AM radio on and he's listening to the haters and the detractors talk about him, the talking heads on the radio, and it's some generic guy saying like, when's Kawhi coming back, blah, blah, blah. So I was like, oh, all right, I got the guy for this. Why didn't they hire Fred? So I inserted it right here.
You don't need to mention Kawhi anymore. That's not necessary. They're not missing him. They've never found him.
You hear them?
I'm not getting excited about anything.
They like to come and watch the fun and chirp. But when I show up, they always quiet.
So I don't think he's talking about the geese there. I think he's talking about the haters, like Fred Roggin.
No, well, nobody's a hater. I told you when he was back, we would talk about it. He's back, so now let's get to it, Adam. Let's dig in.
I also thought about, because the last time I was on with you, you said, call me when he's back. I thought about calling you Saturday night live on the air when Kawhi made his debut right before tip-off. I thought about it. I was this close, Fred.
Oh, you should have called me.
Well, I'll do it. I'll do it again. I mean,
you should have called me.
I'm calling you tomorrow. I'll call you after.
No, don't call me tomorrow. Don't call me tomorrow.
Oh,
but
yeah.
You should have called me then.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, no, I'm busy now, but yeah.
Tomorrow, I can't even go into what I'll be doing. But then I was very available for you. All right. So here we go, Adam. How's he look?
He looks rusty, but his movement, his gait looks good. There's been a couple plays where he's shown off the burst, explosiveness. I think the most encouraging thing is from three, he's showing off that he's knocking down three-pointers, and that means he has his legs underneath him enough. And just the fact that he looked better in Game 2 than he did in Game 1 movement-wise, which is the antithesis of what happened in the playoff series last year against the Dallas Mavericks, where he came back in Game 2, looked okay, and then in Game 3, after his knee didn't respond well from playing that first game in the playoff series against Dallas, he looked much worse. This time, in Game 2, he actually looked better, so his knee responded the right way, and that's all you're looking for. He's not going to be out there dropping 20 or 30 points right now. He's on a minutes restriction. He's only playing 20 minutes. He's kind of picking his spots. He's not trying to disrupt the offense. He's not trying to make himself the focal point. He's trying to blend in. But I think overall, it's positive signs coming from Kawhi.
Yeah, it's good to see, and hopefully, and I know they will try to play it as smart as they can, but you just never know. But that is a good sign that he responded in the second game and didn't have a setback, because that, like you said, has usually been the case where he'll go out and light it up in that first game, and then they're looking to come back the next night and he can't go, or he's just limping around and not the same. So that definitely is a good sign. Adam, do you see what do you see happening as the trade deadline approaches?
With the Clippers, I think they could use an extra ball handler out there because so much has been on the plate of James Harden. He's played heavy minutes, and they're taxing minutes when you're on ball and having to create and do as much as he does for them. But they have Kevin Porter Jr., who they've been trying to bring along. He was out of the league all of last season with domestic violence allegations, and he comes back this year. He's been playing a ton for the Clippers. Coach Lue has been trying to, I think, find something with him where he can be almost like a poor man's James Harden out there, because he has a similar skill set. He's not a top 75 player of all time. He's not a future Hall of Famer, but he can do some of what James Harden does, so therefore he can kind of bridge the gap with the second unit and the backups when James Harden is out. But it's still been very up and down with KPJ. It's been a work in progress and a bit of an experiment. You just don't know what you're getting possession to possession. Last night he had some really good moments in the fourth quarter, and then he had some down moments where a lot of people were trying to blame him and make him the scapegoat. But overall, they could use a backup big. They could use more help in the front court and possibly another ball handler out there. But I still think the biggest acquisition is just getting Kawhi Leonard back. You get him back, and if you get him back to playing 30 to 35 minutes per night as he ramps up here slowly, that's what you want to see. But, guys, I got to tell you, Clipper Nation, and including myself, there's never going to be a point where you feel secure with Kawhi's health because the last 4 seasons, right, he hasn't been able to finish the year. And this new issue with the knee just flaring up randomly last season, he played 68 games, and out of nowhere, he wakes up one morning, and the right knee, the surgically repaired knee just swells up. Like, they think they have a better handle on it. They think they know how to manage it. But even Kawhi post-game Saturday night when he spoke with the media for the first time after playing said, basically, I'm day-to-day. That's where it is. That's how you have to go about this. You just never know. So I appreciate any game that they're getting from Kawhi Leonard, and I hope he can be out there consistently, and I think they're doing everything they can to make sure he stays healthy because they do have a better handle on it having been through this, but there are just no guarantees.
Adam, it's just baffling. It really is. It is baffling. He could wake up, and that could be it again. Do they have any idea, any possible idea of what is going on with that?
Well, maybe those who have the medical records do, but I don't have any insight on that, and they're not going to reveal any of that stuff. It goes back to, so it's all the right leg with him, Fred. Going back to San Antonio when he was out for almost an entire year with the quadricep injury, the tendinopathy there. Then it's the ACL with the Clippers. Then he does the meniscus in that leg. And then last season, the swelling starts. So it's all that troublesome right leg and that knee. And it's going back now years. And even I remember reading a report over the last year with the Evil Four Letter saying that it was his trainer talking about how Kawhi, even in 2014, with San Antonio, when he was the Finals MVP, apparently he was playing through stuff then. So he has just been injury prone like this. Some people speculate he's always had chronic knee issues. I don't know, but there's never going to be a time moving forward where I feel fully secure. He could play the next 10 straight games, and you still just never know if that 11th game he's going to wake up feeling right.
Yeah, and that if you're the Clipper, he's such a dynamic player when he is healthy and unguardable when he is, and defensively can do everything. It's just it's a gut punch when you're expecting him and you see what he can do, and then it flares up and you don't have him for the playoffs or down for a stretch run. So makes it very difficult. Adam, switch over to the Lakers. Adam, they made mention that they're not going to make a big splash in free agency at trade deadline, and just live in this space that they're living in. I guess they're waiting for guys to get healthy to see if they can, kind of build some momentum there. What do you think about their process?
Yeah, it seems like an evaluation period. And just seeing now they brought in Dorian Finney-Smith, and I really like that move. He's a good player. He's a 3-and-D guy. That fills a need for them. If they could get Vando back, who hasn't played in almost a season, and who knows if that's happening, that would be big for them. Another good defender out there. Christian Wood, could he come back? But I think what the Lakers are trying to do is, they have 3 first-round picks coming up, I think 29, the 2030, and the 2031. Now, you can't trade 2 of them in consecutive years anymore, but you could trade the 2029 and the 2031. But I think what Rob Pelinka in the front office is saying is, if we don't know, even if we do make a big splash, if this team is good enough, and who that player could be, Jimmy Butler, Zach LaVine, Brandon Ingram, Bradley Beal, who knows who that big splash player would be. But if it's not enough anyways to put them over the top, why are they trading future assets? Why are they going to put themselves in a position like they were before LeBron came, where as much as some people are hating on the LeBron years, there were some lean years before him, where I think for 5 straight seasons they were averaging 25 wins per year. I don't think they want to have a period like that again. They want more sustained success. And with how strict the new CBA is, with how strict the salary cap rules are, you really have to make sure you hit when you draft. And to do that, you got to hold on to your picks. So unless there is a sure thing, and nothing's a sure thing when it comes to competing and being an upper echelon team that's a title contender, no matter who you bring in, because you can have injuries. LeBron's 40, AD has a checkered injury past. Like, I don't think they're going to swing for the fences. Now, if they can make upgrades on the margins, if they trade Rui for somebody, if they're able to finesse a team or finesse a really good trade, fleece a team, I should say, they might do that. Like, what I would do is, and I know Utah came out and said we're not shopping him, but that could be a negotiation tactic to drive up the price. I would look at Walker Kessler. And my reasoning for that is, first of all, Anthony Davis has not had that true center next to him for some time that puts him back at the power forward. Kessler can do that. But the other side of it is, while he can make you better this year, he's 23. So if you're giving up that first-round pick for him, it's not just all in for the next 2 years. That can be your center for the next 7 to 10 years. That can be the Zubac's replacement. That can be the guy that can fill that void that you haven't been able to figure out since they won the championship in the bubble with JaVale McGee and Dwight Howard there next to AD. That's the type of guy I would look at, but they might want both first-round picks that the Lakers can give up. I don't know. I'd still consider it because he's that good. He helps you now, and he can be a bit of a stability player in the front court for years to come.
All right, Adam. So right now, the Clippers are 20-15. The Lakers are 20-15. The Clippers just got Kawhi back. The Lakers just made a trade. If you had a crystal ball, who's the better team in the playoffs? Do both make it? And who goes further?
Oh, Fred, I don't know if you knew this, but I work for the Clippers, and it's going to be
I understand,
tough.
but
It's
I mean,
going to
you
be
can
tough
be
to get an objective answer out of me.
Yeah.
What do you expect me to say? Oh, okay, I'll try to be objective as possible about this. I do think the Lakers are dangerous because the last 12 games, they're ninth defensively, and they've kind of been figuring things out there. Remember, they've been going through this whack-a-mole where they start off the year good offensively, but then bad defensively. Then they improve defensively, but their offense went by the wayside. Now they've gotten their defense back in line, and their offense has been pretty good. They got a new starting lineup with Max Christie, and maybe J.J. Redick has figured something out, plus they bring in DFS, Dorian Finney-Smith. I like the spot they're in. They got to win tonight against a beat-up Dallas team. What's going to be interesting is these teams play each other 4 times in like the next month and a half. The Clippers and Lakers have not played so far this season. This is the first time in forever it's taken this long to get to their first game. I think it's coming up January 20th or the 18th, something like that. And they're going to be right next to each other in the standings. These games are going to be very consequential. I think a lot of this, Fred, to your question is, how long does it take for Kawhi to get back to playing real minutes, playing 30 to 35 a night? If he does, I give the advantage to the Clippers if they're playing those games and just overall seeding-wise in the Western Conference and where they can land. If he doesn't, then I think the Lakers might have the inside track to move up the standings a little bit further.
I thought that was very diplomatic.
That's what I do, Fred.
Yeah.
Now, I wish you were
Okay.
more diplomatic during that Kawhi Leonard commercial.
Let me see how diplomatic you are on this question. What do you make of the feud with Charles Barkley and J.J. Redick? Adam, we haven't had a chance to talk to you about that. And J.J. calling out the media and Charles for the lack of excitement around the NBA, and Charles clapping back saying you shouldn't, fire up 100 threes and people will be more interested. What do you make of those two going at it like that?
I think both guys have a point, honestly. Like TNT and the way they cover the game. And, I mean, Charles kind of proved his point because they're showing like Boston Celtics highlights, and he turns it into talking about the Lakers and J.J. Redick instead of celebrating what was a good game that night. And they often just want to talk about back in my day and how it was better back when, and there were less three-pointers, because long two-pointers are way better than three-pointers because that made the game so much more interesting. But J.J. Redick pointing that out, and then Charles kind of confirming it while he fires back at him and saying, well, the style of play is what's hurting the game, and we're simply pointing that out, and that's our job as broadcasters to do that analysis and say what we really think about the state of the game today. I think both guys are making a point as to why ratings are down overall. I think the style of play stuff is overblown. I like the modern NBA. And for everybody that's out there that is saying, oh, everybody plays the same way, they just chuck a bunch of threes. No, they don't. The Denver Nuggets, they take the fewest amount of threes. They won the championship a couple of years ago. Like, the Orlando Magic play a completely different style than the Indiana Pacers. Like, if you get down into the details, there is a lot of variety, and it's still a varied attack out there in the NBA. Are threes up? Yes. I think, 38% of shot attempts are threes. It's also like, back in the 90s, it would have been cool to see Reggie Miller take more threes. It would have been cool to see some of these sharpshooters actually be encouraged to take threes. I think Larry Bird took like 700 total in his career. Like, the three-point shot can still be exciting, even if it's not Steph. Like, some guys, yes, shouldn't be taking them. But the analytics and the math have broken the game open. It's leveled the playing field to some degree. It's not going anywhere. And unless they move back the three-point line or take away corner threes, teams are going to continue to do this. And I just think a lot of the criticism about today's game, and it's not physical enough, or it's not this, it's not that. Most people, they just want to know that the stakes are at the highest when they're watching. And because there's 82 games in the NBA, and it's not 17 games played, like the NFL, that's the secret sauce. People think these games don't matter on a night-to-night basis. I would disagree with that, but I understand how the casual fan can feel like that.
All right. Well, Adam, thanks for coming on. Happy New Year, and we'll talk to you again soon.
All right, Fred. Great voiceover for New Balance. They love you.